Okay, so here we go with another battle report. This is going to be a little bit different because this is the first game of a three-game series of a 50-point Steamroller tournament that was hosted by the Game Castle in Londonderry, New Hampshire. This was back on March 9th, so I'm a little bit late as far as kind of bringing it up, but just to kind of give people an idea. So this is pre-Gargantuans. So it was 50 points, two lists, character restrictions, the usual stuff. The one thing that was interesting about this is the store doesn't have enough like chess clocks and things, and they really didn't ask people to bring either like a phone app or some sort of like a tablet app or something like that, so they can keep time turns or anything. So the organizer of the tournament was actually keeping times for the entire round and having a small variable there. And then once the time was up, dice down was called, and the game would end regardless of how anything would finish up. So that was really it. It was a 50-point tournament. And so here we go on to my game one with the Kromac list that I decided to take. I took Kromac and P. Kruger. So if you follow this in games 2 and 3, I'll be using P. Kruger. This was the only one that I actually used Kromac with. So the scenario for this one was ammo run. You have the white center zone in the middle with a flag that's an objective. The other two are also objectives. They have an armor 15 boxes, and basically how you would score is you get a control point for destroying the enemy objective. So the one on the far left, depending on where you were standing as far as the player goes, and the center objective inside the zone always counts as an enemy model for the zone, and you can never claim it until that objective is actually destroyed. So you get 1 point for destroying an objective, and then you get, I believe, 1 point for controlling the zone, 2 points for dominating the zone after the center objective is destroyed. So real quick, my Kromac list that I took. As you can see here in the advanced deployment, there are 2 units of shifting stones. Note there is no Stonekeeper, so neither one of them are stealthed. There's a Pureblood Warp Wolf, a unit of minimum Wolf Riders. There's a Druid Wilder behind them, a unit of Wold Stalkers, a Gorax Megalith, a Blackclad Wayfarer. Kromac is behind him, and everyone's favorite Warp Wolf Stalker. And for my first round opponent, I ended up pulling Mercenaries. This is actually a Highborn Covenant list, and a big old giant galleon. It's the first time I ever played against a galleon. I only had a rough idea of what it did, but apparently it's fairly mean. So anyways, onto his list. He had a unit of gun mages with the gun mage officer. The officer was Jack marshalling the buccaneer that's there. You can see the galleon. He had Rocinante. He kept referring to him as Rocky. So that's, if you hear me call out Rocky, that's the reason why. Iana and Holt are next to them. An Ogre Beaucoeur, who I believe was attached to Gorman the Wolf, who's right up there front and center. Terran, the mercenary gun mage, is in there. And also the artillerist McNail is in the back there. Captain Bart is his warcaster, who's kind of behind the galleon. Also Silas Wishnauer was back there. And Dirty Meg was back there as well. You can't really see them because they're kind of, I think Bart is like directly underneath the crane for the left arm, and the other two are behind Rosa Sante, Rocky, however you want to call it. And as you can see, my Wolf Riders put prey onto the gun mages. So here we go with my turn one. Nothing really terribly exciting. Wolf Riders ran up into the woods. The shifting stones kind of teleported around the woods there as the pure blood went into it. I noticed that the Black-Clad Wayfarer would probably do well to have his sprays go over to help out the gun mages. So I used his teleport within 2 inches of a shifting stone to kind of quickly redeploy him to get him over to that left flank. So his sprays can help out the Wolf Riders. The Wilder just walked up. The Stalker went into the woods, warped for prowl, so he would have stealth. Wold Stalkers just walked up, didn't really do a whole lot. Kromac threw up Wild Aggression on the Stalker, Warpath on himself. Megalith walked up a bit, put up Invulnerable Resolve on himself for the additional point of armor, or 2 points of armor, I should say. Shifting Stones kind of shifted around a little bit, and the Gorax does primarily what the Gorax does for me, and is kind of a Fury Battery for the opening turns. So we'll go on to Mercenaries turn one. He advances as such. The Galleon opens up and takes all of his port gun batteries, the D3 AoE shots, and unloads into my Wolf Riders as best as he can. And with the artillerist that he had, and Bart putting, I believe it's called Hot Shot, it gives him an extra die damage on damage rolls, even for the AoEs. The Wolf Riders were taking a pounding. And as you can see, he's moving up with Gorman and Terran to try to take the center zone. And I believe he was also putting batten down the hatches, the defensive buff, as well for the Galleon. And the gun mages were not advancing up towards those Wolf Riders at all. He was kind of more than happy to hang them back, making me come to him. I think this is just kind of no, actually this is my second turn. This is actually before the Wolf Riders really started to getting shot up. I believe his first turn where he was so far away, none of the scattering AoEs were really hitting anything. So as you can see, I'm putting up the Pure Blood and the Black-Clad Wayfarer to help stack that left flank, with the Buccaneer and to help get rid of those gun mages who I just absolutely hate. The Wold Stalker walked up, and the Shifting Stones kind of moved in to support for a future teleport. The Wold Stalkers actually moved up and killed Terran just kind of with their own separate shots. They just kind of walked up. I believe I had to Zephyr them as well, and they just shot her dead. She was just kind of standing out there, so I took advantage of it. Megalith walked up, I put up Undergrowth for him. I'm not really sure why. And with his Geomancy, excuse me, he put an Invulnerable Resolve onto the Wold Stalker, so they would be at armor 17, just in case any of the drifting AoE started going my way. And Kromac kept up Warpath and Wild Aggression and all that good stuff. And as you can see, the Shifting Stones moved Megalith across that pond. Even though he had plenty of movement, well, not necessarily plenty of movement, because he only had the 5 inches, and I knew I wanted to put Invulnerable Resolve on the Wold Stalkers. So that's why I opted to have the Shifting Stones move Megalith over there rather than having him run or do anything like that. So here we go on to the bottom of Mercenaries turn 2. And as you can see, what I was talking about earlier, the Wolf Riders got obliterated. Yeah, so they're all dead between like I said, the port guns that were going off, and the gun mages. They were doing kind of a mix of some crit brutals, and some of the other shots, but mostly they were trying to get crit brutals on them. And some of the other AoEs went into the Wold Stalkers as well, killing quite a few of them actually. I believe there's only one left in addition to the Stone Ward. But thankfully, not a whole lot of other of my stuff really took damage. So that was good. I believe also this turn, I believe he popped his feet as well, where if you advance into his control area, you suffer like a rat debuff and you're immediately knocked down. So I was kind of okay with this, being that the only things that were really going to advance either were immune to knockdown or were going to get teleported over by some shifting stones, or was going to be out of his feet range. So I was kind of okay with that. But anyways, we'll take into the picture for my next turn. As you can see here, here's my opponent trying to shoot the stalker with his fingers. Apparently, just out of pure hatred, but that's all right. So I can't even talk right now. The Blackclad Wayfarer, I'm sorry, moved up through the woods, tried to spray the objective and the Buccaneer just to do some sort of damage because no one was really getting any sort of control points at all. I think it did a few points of damage. Didn't really do anything to any sort of gun mages. The Pureblood just kind of moved up. I believe he put Wraithbane onto the Wold Stalker, because I think Rosastante, or however you want to pronounce it, had some sort of debuff on him. So I wanted to get that removed. The Gorax just kind of took up position in case he needed to be teleported from the stones, who the stones prior to that teleported up the Stalker. The Stalker kind of unloaded on Rosasante, or however you want to pronounce him. Now I know why my opponent Steve was calling him Rocky. And Megalith ended up charging Gorman the Wolf, put a whole bunch of fear in him, and I believe Gorman's dead at this point. And Kromac just kind of moved up into those shifting stones, and the Wold Stalkers I believe was trying to take a pot shot at Aeona and Holt, but it didn't really do anything. So that was during his feat turn, or after his feat turn, I should say. So thankfully it wasn't too bad. And you can see, if you look behind the galleon, that little red miniature there, that's Bart hiding behind the galleon. So yeah, this is now, I believe, the Mercenaries turn 3 or turn 4. But actually, in what he does, he doesn't really do too much. He puts the gun mages around his objective, I believe, to try to stop me from charging it. And he also did the Thunderbolt shot onto my Pureblood, which ended up knocking him down and doing some points of damage. The Buccaneer came over and tried to net, I believe, the Warpwolf Stalker, who didn't really do anything. I believe it missed. And as you can see, Rosasante, or however you want to call it, is a wreck marker at this point. Megalith, you could see, had definitely finished off Gorman. And the Galleon moved up, tried to shoot with his harpoon gun and ended up missing. I believe he was trying to shoot Megalith, and Aeon and Holt kind of taking some more pot shots and not doing too much. Oh no, that's what it was. I'm sorry. Between the Galleon and Aeon and Holt, he ended up killing the center objective, so he ended up scoring a control point here. So on to the Circle's next turn, and this is actually ends up being the end of the game. I moved the first thing I did is the Pureblood Warpwolf walked up, did his spray, and hit the objective. And when I boost damage onto the objective, I think it was at like dice -1, and it did a huge amount of damage. Ended up destroying it. And the thing with the ammunition objective is that when it's destroyed, everybody within 2 inches takes like a power 12. So all those gun mages that were encircling the objective ended up all being destroyed. So that was kind of amusing. Next up, I kind of had an idea with what I wanted to do. So next up, I had the Shifting Stones teleport up Kromac. This was really kind of a risky move. That's why I kept him on all those transfers. But I wanted him to move up because what I ended up doing, well, for next, Megalith walked over. He ended up destroying the Buccaneer, which allowed the Warpwolf Stalker to get a Warpath move. So I moved him off over to the left. And then with the Stalker, I warped him for Ghostly because I had it from the Pureblood, and I could see Bart behind the Galleon. So I charged through, I believe, Dirty Meg, who's the painted miniature there, through the Galleon into Bart, and between the claws and the great sword and everything else. Ended up taking him down pretty easily, and he did end up failing his first tough roll, but thankfully I had enough great sword attacks that I could finish him off, even if I didn't need to be. So, and here's kind of a back shot of the Stalker kind of raining down on Bart, and Wishnail are also kind of hiding behind the Galleon. So this ended up being a win for Circle. Ended up having a control point each, where I got that last second ditch on his ammunition objective, and he got the center one. Didn't get anything for the center, but still, this was actually a real good game. I enjoyed this one, not only just for winning, but kind of it's my first real test against the Galleon. I know it's kind of got a lot of internet fame going on right now, but I didn't know how it would do. But I was actually surprised that, I don't know if it was just because of the fact that I was staying back, so it didn't have advantage to take or it couldn't really take advantage of its harpoon shots. But the artillerist with McNail and the extra die damage was really, really mean. I was being very thankful that the port guns that it has, the D3 on each side, didn't do as much damage as I was afraid it was. So I guess I kind of lucked out at that. But it did wipe out all of my Wolf Riders, good amount of the Wold Stalkers, and did some damage to the Pureblood, but not enough that really made it overly consequential. But so that's it for game one. Win for Circle, which is good, and hopefully I should have game two up next against a Scorn army. So I will see you guys then.